Hello folks, this is Keith Curtis, and I am going to use this video to introduce a new Roll20 mod script. This script is called Chronicle. It is a calendar and event tracking script. It gives you a way to track events, dates, and such right inside your campaign. If you're running a campaign and you want to keep track of what's happened, when it happened, and be able to see it all in a nice calendar or timeline view, this might be just what you're looking for. We're going to spend the next 15 minutes or so walking through what Chronicle does, how to set it up, and then we're going to see it in action. And even if you're not ready to use it right now, you'll get a good sense of what it can do. Let's get started. All right, first of all, we're going to go through installation and setup. I have here a brand new campaign. I have already installed the script. I'm going to save it. When this is ready, it will be in one click, but if it is not yet in one click, there will be a link in the show notes to the Roll20 Forum thread where the script code has a link. So let's go into the main campaign now. We're going to launch the game, and it's going to take a second. Okay, we're in a brand new game now. There's only one command you need to worry about, and that is !CHR for Chronicle. And what that is going to do is that is going to create this handout. This is the interface for using Chronicle. It doesn't show much yet because we have not installed a calendar. So right now we're in the calendar mode. We're going to switch over to design mode, and you will see that we have the active calendar is called New Calendar. We're not going to create a new calendar yet. I'd like to quickly introduce, we have 5 presets here. These are pre-generated calendars that you can use. They are for major gaming worlds. There is one for Golarian's calendar in Pathfinder. We have a calendar for the Forgotten Realms for Faerun. We have the calendar for the world of Greyhawk, and we have the calendar for the world of Eberron. Those are all built in. So let's go ahead and let's just load one right now. We're going to load Faerun. And you will see that automatically all of the data is filled in for Faerun. We have the calendar description. We have the calendar name, days in the year, days in the week. We have the names of the month and their lengths. We have the weekday names. We have not added any holidays, but there are special days in the Faerun calendar. These are listed as special days rather than holidays because they take place in between weeks and don't get a weekday name. When you are designing your own calendar, you can add days like that. You can also add leap days, and you can configure the months and days of the year however you wish. There is a built-in moon. This is Selûne, the moon of Faerun. We have not yet set a climate. This is a feature that will help you generate weather. And we don't have any leap years enabled because the leap years for Faerun are special. Again, they don't take up a calendar date. So let's go ahead and we're going to quickly set up a climate just to get this all ready to go so that we can do weather. To set up a climate, this would be the climate for wherever your campaign takes place. So we are going to say that this is in a temperate zone. It's just going to walk us through a bunch of questions to generate our climate biome. We're going to say that this is coastal. Let's put this on the Sword Coast. It is a west coast on the Sword Coast. Lowland, let's say we're somewhere near Baldur's Gate. There is no rain shadow. We're very near the coast. And we have gotten a mixed forest in Chaparral, a CSB. This is a climate classification system. Our units are Fahrenheit, but you can change that to Celsius here. Now, if we go to the calendar, we can see that we have the Faerun calendar set up already. The year is preset to the first day of the first month of the first year. You can set those to whatever you want. If you want to have something take place in the year, let's say 1460. There, now you're in the year 1460. You want to choose a different month. You can choose a different month, and you want to choose a particular day. You can just click on any day. Now, there are several controls for adding notes and events and such. So the very first time you add a note, it is not going to work simply because it has to create the handout that holds the note. So we're just going to add a garbage note. We'll call this Bob. All right, now we can add notes. We're going to add a note, party meets in tavern. So you can see that there is a note for that. To a note, you can add tags so that you can see, you can organize events. And I think what I'm going to do is, because this doesn't have much data set into it, I'm going to move to the calendar that I have set up for my home campaign, because I have already put lots of data into it, and it will show you the strengths of the calendar once you have entered data. So I'm going to switch to my regular campaign. And let's go ahead and we are going to type that CHR. And then we'll open up the calendar interface, and you can see that this one, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to load my home campaign. You can change this calendar setup as often as you want. It won't do anything to your data. But that explains what the deal is with the calendar, describes it a bit. There are the months, and this one is pre-populated with all kinds of holidays and their descriptions. There's a moon. The climate is already set for temperate rainforest. And we are going to go ahead and we're going to go to the calendar mode. Now you can see that this one is preset with all kinds of notes. And I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so that we can see, once you have a lot of data in there, the calendar can get a bit large. So I'm going to go ahead and enlarge that. If you don't want to see all of these notes, these are notes that have been added, you can hide details, and that will collapse all of the notes. You'll just get little icons to indicate that there is a note on that day. But I'm going to show details for right now. I'm going to go through some of the things you can do with this. For instance, on these days, I have already added lots of notes. We have the ability to add notes and add events. A note is something that would help you track campaign time. The party gets to someplace, they meet someone, someone dies, someone is born, things that happen on a specific date that you might want to track for a campaign. An event is a larger world level event. This would be like the start of a war or a plague or a magical disaster, things that might not necessarily be tied to a specific calendar date, but would be useful in a large timeline. So up here we have our navigational controls, which I showed before, where you can set the date to anything in particular. You can also skip forward one day at a time, or skip backward 1 month at a time, or skip back 1 year at a time. If ever you want to get back to today, all you have to do is click down here, go to today, and that takes you to whichever day you have defined as the day in which the campaign is taking place, the adventure day. If you want to change that adventure day, just click on any date and click this button that says define today as the featured date, and that will go ahead and that will set that to be today. Then whenever you click go to today, that's the day you'll go to. It's basically a bookmark for now. So let's go ahead. We have generated weather here for this day. If I didn't like that weather, the weather says is cloudy with moderate winds, 64 degrees Fahrenheit. Let's go ahead and regenerate that. It is now a clear day. It is 60 degrees Fahrenheit. It tells us that the season is spring. This is day 106 out of the 336 in the calendar. And you can see that there are a bunch of notes down here. Each note, you can edit, you can delete it. You create notes over here, remember. You can change it between a note or an event with this button, and you can move it to a different date with this button. You click that and it will ask you which date you want to send it to. Every note has a little signature at the end. The signature is the same as your player name, your display name in the game. And this is useful if you're running something like a West Marches game, or any game where you have multiple DMs or players that you have given permissions to view and edit the map. It basically tags that map with whoever made the note. Beyond that, we have buttons here for tags. Tags are ways of organizing your notes so that they can be viewed in logical groups. For instance, Expedition returns from Dungeon Town. That was something my players recently did. It has the tags of Dungeon Town, which is a community in a dungeon, and it has the tag Society. They are an archaeological society, so society refers to anything that their group does. The usefulness of these tags in the timeline mode. So far we've seen the calendar mode, we've seen the design mode. The last mode is the timeline mode. In timeline mode, you can view, you can click on particular tags. Right now I've got untagged events showing. In this view, we can see events, notes, or holidays, or weather if we so choose. The default is events and notes. And we can choose a date range, or we can say all. And then we can, well, before we get to tag mode, there's a tag cloud here, which is all of the tags that have been assigned to any event in the database. These are auto-created, or you can also choose untagged. I clicked that off when we moved here. And you can click this to show all of the events. So let's say that, well, I mentioned society. Let's find the tag for society. These are in alphabetical order. We'll click that. And you will see that we can see all of the events in the calendar that are tagged to society. We can go back to its founding in the year 740. We can go to the more recent events, and you can see as you get more recent for older events, or for, well, for events as opposed to notes. For events, you'll only get the year. For a note, you will get the year, the month, and the date. If there is more than one date in a month, they'll be all under the same header of the month. And similarly, events in a year will all be under the header of the year. And over here, we can see that there is a little taglet over here which shows elapsed time. This is elapsed time from whatever the featured date is. And remember, that featured date is whatever we have defined or whatever we have clicked on. This is the featured date. This is still today. This is still defined as today, but now we're looking at this date. But let's go ahead and this is the featured date. Now if we go to the timeline view, let's go ahead and we are going to look at the society grand reopening. That's where I started this campaign. If I click on the little elapsed time, that sets that to a 0 point. Now I can see the elapsed days, months, and years from that event. So if we scroll on down, we can see that that last date there, Moon Day the 22nd, is exactly 4 months from the beginning of the campaign. We can also work our way backwards. It gives you negatives, so we can see how long ago maybe somebody was born. So there's a person in the campaign, Jason, he was born on this date. We can see that he is 20 years, 4 months, and 6 days old. The advantage of this is you can cross-index things. The default, and that goes back up to this tag mode, is if it has any of these tags. So let's also click drow. And you can see that it has added some specific drow events, like ones that I've marked here with a couple of emojis. But we can change that to and, which means it has to have both tags. And you can see those become green now. So these are only events that are tagged with drow and society. So we can see the interaction of different things. We can also click those off, and with no tag selected, we see nothing. But if we click untagged, that will show any event which you have not yet tagged, which is really useful for going back and if you've forgotten to tag something, seeing which items need to be tagged. So let's go ahead and we'll click that off. We're going to go ahead and select all, and we are going to set the tag mode back to any, and this is every event in the campaign. If you want to edit anything in particular, remember over here, you're setting a reference date. Over here, you'll click and you will set that date as the featured date, so you can edit the events that have taken place on that date. So this will show weather, it will show moons, it will show holidays. If you want to send any of this information to a player, let's say that this is the particular date you're looking at and you want to send that to the player, up here is a button called Send to Chat. And that will send a little synopsis of that day to chat. Chat can see that the date is Friday the 21st of the year 1892, what the season is, and the day number out of the year. Shows you that the holiday is there's a holiday attached to this day, which is the Festival of Oss. And then there are a couple of events, notes for that day, and then it will show you where it falls in the week for some context along with the moon phase. If there was a weather event attached to this date, it would also show you the weather. If a player wants to know anything about that particular holiday, they can click on the Festival of Oz and it will give them a description of it. And remember, all of that stuff is defined here in your calendar. So you can see that the Festival of Oz is located here, and that same information is just repeated over here. The only thing that doesn't show for players when you do send to chat is if you tag something with the tag GM. If you use a tag called GM, it will only appear in calendar view. It will not appear in send to chat. If, however, you want your players to be able to manipulate the calendar as well, they can certainly do it. All you have to do is edit this handout. This handout, remember, is created by the script, and you just choose all players and click Save Changes. And now players can open this handout as well, and they can use all of the controls. So if you have a player who really likes taking notes, or if you have a collaborative world building group, then you can give everybody access to the calendar and they can all edit it together. So to recap, you can either use a pre-built calendar, and there are 5 pre-builts. You can create your own. You can create as many calendars as you want. The data for calendars is in handouts. Those handouts are automatically archived so that a user can't accidentally corrupt the data. But otherwise, this Chronicle handout is just sitting here in your Journal tab. So you can use a pre-built calendar, build one from scratch. Setting up from one scratch maybe takes around 30 minutes if it's completely from scratch. If you're just going to use a pre-built, 30 seconds. Once it's set up, you can use calendar mode to navigate all of the events and tag them and add notes and such. Use the timeline mode to search and filter and understand the flow of your world or campaign history. You can organize everything with tags. You can set up holidays, add weather. You track moon phases as much as you want. The calendar will handle multiple moons. Several of the pre-builts do have multiple moons. I think Eberron has 12 moons. There's documentation for all of this. If you want to see any of the documentation, there's a help button up here. Button comes up in chat, and there is the detailed documentation, which gives you more detailed instructions on how to use everything. Some hints and tips. If you are using this, start slowly until you get a handle on the sorts of things that you want to track. Decide on a tag structure earlier rather than later, because that will save you from having to go back. For instance, do you want to track the entire party by a group name, or do you want to track each player individually, or do you want to do like a combination of both, only tagging an individual player if it's something specific to them, like their birthday? So that's the calendar. Chronicle is the name of the program. You'll be able to find it in one click as soon as the next merge happens. If it is not yet in one click, you'll be able to find it in the forum thread with the link that I will provide in the show notes. And happy gaming.